Hard work and determination of our area athletes. This is The Score on WQAD News 8.
Good evening and welcome to The Score Sunday. It was a busy week in the world of local sports with plenty to talk about this week. Coming up tonight, the local sports world is not the same as we all mourn the loss of Steve Tappa. We will talk with a couple of his former colleagues to share some fun stories about him. The John Deere Classic made a huge announcement this past week. Two-time champ Jordan Spieth is back and heading to Deere Run for the first time in 9 years. Our FCA Story of the Week features a new game that is catching on quickly here in the Midwest. And we recap plenty of happenings in college football from this past week. But we start tonight with Steve Tappa. Steve passes away unexpectedly this past Tuesday, and so many found ways to honor him, including the Bettendorf-Pleasant Valley Baseball League, which has been around for 75 years. Steve had a big thumbprint on that league, from playing in it to more recently as a president and a coach in the league. In between their Friday night games, they honored Steve for all he has done with BPV.
I want you to just take a moment to look around. Everyone here tonight was impacted by Steve. And we're all here to celebrate and honor him because we know that he would absolutely have done it for each and every one of us.
Around 100 fans and players showed up that night to show their respects to Steve and his family. Steve was instrumental in organizing the league each year, making sure the games had umpires, even running the concession stand. Steve made sure everything ran smoothly.
Ideas started flowing, and we got so many different falling parts and moving pieces to come together. And this amount of people is tremendous to see. I'm just so happy that this many people are able to come out here tonight.
Helped mentor all of the youth umpires and helped me connect with them as well to help do some training. He was just a friend to everyone.
On BPV, he was really the backbone of the organization. We called him the glue guy because he was just involved with everything and he saw everything through very thoroughly. He was really the spearheader behind getting us moving on, meeting and making decisions. He was really the point person behind it all.
Everyone that played that night wore number 63, which was Steve's number in high school. They also brought back the black and gold Tappa Steakhouse uniforms. It was a special night for everyone involved. And now we're joined by a couple of Steve's former colleagues. We have Marc Nesseler, who is the sports editor and writer for the Dispatch-Argus, and Tom Johnston, who's still a writer with the Dispatch and Quad City Times. So, gentlemen, thank you for coming in. Obviously, unfortunate circumstances that we have to do this, but
it's good to reflect, though.
It is good to reflect. It's good to honor his legacy and the legend and the writer that he was, and still is for some people.
Right.
Let me ask you, because you hired him.
Yeah.
What was that process like? How did you get to know Steve?
Out of college, St. Ambrose, he joined our staff part-time, and man, he was so talented. I always say that he's the most blessed writer, my favorite writer that I've had ever since Murray Hurt.
Sure.
I didn't hire Murray Hurt. But I kept thinking, man, I got to get this kid on my staff. But there was never an opening. So finally, and TJ and I were trying to figure out when that time, we think it was when John Marc became the columnist for the Dispatch-Argus, but it may not have been. It was so long ago.
Right.
But I was so pleased and so happy that he is finally on the staff, and it was just
He was doing full-time work.
He really was.
Part-timer, just like all of our part-timers through the years. They
instead
were
of 105 hours, we cut him to 85.
Yeah, I think we might have. Yeah. But with him, it was hard to tell because he could drag out a project for days. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned dragging out a project, and I think if you know Stevie, it's Tappa time, right?
It's Tappa time.
What was Tappa time? And I kind of asked you ahead of time, but what was Tappa time for you?
Tappa time to me was so frustrating as a boss because it meant that, okay, I would always say, Tappa, when's that story going to be done? When's that story going to be done? I'm Jaying, which meant justifying. I was hitting a button that was finishing.
Okay.
I'm Jaying used to be the catchphrase in the newsroom. Yep. I'm Jaying. And we knew that meant that he still had another half hour to go. Even though the payroll deadline was like 10 minutes away.
Or past 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Deadline was 10 minutes
ago.
ago.
But after I read TJ's piece on him and read all the online comments about, from Anthony Sandoval and DJ Jarvis and Kyle Hartwig and all the Drake Landsman, all the part-timers, I'm reading their stories, I'm thinking, I feel so guilty to think that what Tappa time was to me was actually to them an opportunity to learn from somebody that really knows the business and to prepare them for what they needed to do in the journalistic world. I mean, to me, that was Tappa time, was a blessing, not something that I should get upset about.
What was it?
Well, we've got the gray hairs because of the deadline. That's what I'm blaming it all on Stevie because he can't defend himself anymore. But you know, you talk about the guys who appreciated what he did. You throw Matt Vito in there.
Matt Vito's another one. Yes.
Just the time he was selfless. There was nobody that Stevie wouldn't help.
Right.
And you know, if it cost him 15 minutes on something that he wanted to do, he didn't care. He was going to give somebody else that 15 minutes.
Sure. Even if it meant getting yelled at by me.
Even if it meant he was late with something. You know, hey.
And that was something that I enjoyed about him. I mean, because I met him in 2000 when I first moved back to the Quad Cities and got my job in television, and you start to talk to him, and he was genuine with everything he did, wasn't he?
Well, Tappa time wasn't just about the writing, though. It was about the arriving. Because
it was.
Like I would be covering the Steam Wheelers with Stevie, and they're just lining up for the kickoff, and I'm there by myself saying, okay,
where is he?
I guess I'm covering this for us tonight. And here he strolls up, got his everything, his whole
he had his suitcase with him.
and everything. Or it might be a state tournament game, Moline.
Sure.
You know, it's warming up, first pitch. And I'm thinking, okay, same old thing, but by that time I knew.
Yeah.
Right.
He was on his way, and he was on Tappa time.
Yep.
Well, and you had the daunting task of writing the article.
Oh yes.
Amen. Not easy. I mean, how did you get through it?
It wasn't easy.
Sure.
But you know, typical Stevie, he gave me the ending.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I miss you guys dearly.
Yeah.
And all I had to do was figure out how to get to the ending. It wasn't easy going from here to here.
Right.
But you know, once again,
those are the toughest ones to write.
Yeah.
and you know they are. But with Stevie, you talk about him, and it's going to be positive.
Yeah.
There was never other than him pushing deadline. There was never a bad word that you could.
I can't ever remember getting mad.
We were talking about that yesterday. There was one time.
Because as much as I chewed on him,
He never got mad at you.
He never got mad at me.
No. He had one office blow up, and it was a classic. We're not going to go into it, but it was good. But there was only one, and that was
share
it.
that with me later.
He was just so calm. Nothing, you know. He was a duck, man. Water rolled off his back.
He really.
He focused on what he had to do and got it done. He did it his way.
Right.
And, you know, he may have been more meticulous than we could afford at deadline some night. But, man, you'd get his story and you're like, you did it again.
You did it.
You did it to
And
me
that's why I
again.
said the readers see that and they say, man, what a great writing piece that was. They don't know anything about what we dealt with. What mattered is what the reader got.
Yeah.
They got the best.
Another day, another miracle, right?
Amen.
Favorite Tappa story?
My favorite Tappa story it has to be walking into the office, coming in. Can't remember what I was covering, but I walked in. There's on his desk is a stack of stuff, books,
just piled
coffee
up.
cans, a jug of iced tea, stacked, like a kid would do when they're 5 years old. And I walked in and said, Stevie, what do you got going on there? And he says, oh, I need it. And I said, well, I don't care if you need it or not. Get rid of it because it looks horrible. Somebody walks in the office, they see that, they think, oh my goodness, what do we got here? A zoo. And he goes, no, I really need it. His laptop would not work without that amount of pressure on it. And he's typing.
Electrical cord wouldn't connect. So he had to put pressure on it.
Kept putting on stuff until he got a connection. And then he's typing with that and writing his story. I could not do that. No. Can you imagine having this here and you're typing here and if I even hit a wrong key,
it's gone.
Yeah,
the story's gone.
Yeah. Oh, by far that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Do you have one?
One.
Well,
I
that's all time will allow.
I don't know where to start with Stevie's stories. Dave Baker from St. Ambrose brought up one yesterday that I'd totally forgotten when Steve was in school. Freezing during the winter, freezing temperatures out, below zero. He ran over to school to do something and left his car running in the parking lot so it would be warm when he came back out. He comes back out and the car's gone.
Of course, yeah.
3 weeks later, they find it. The dashboard's all shot up, windows broken out, whatever could have been stolen was stolen, except for all of his college homework that was still in the car.
Who would want that?
And exactly, nobody. The people who stole his car couldn't read anyway, so they just left that behind. But you know, that and the shorts and Tappa time, always in
it
shorts.
didn't matter the weather.
You know, leather coat and shorts in the winter, and you know, it was just Stevie. It was endearing. It made him who he was.
Well, guys, 8 minutes goes by quick.
Oh my God! Already?
Can
we have 10 more?
We could do an hour if we needed to.
I know it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming
Does
in
a
to
hard
talk
bit.
about Steve, and
Yeah.
hopefully the viewers get a little glimpse of who he is and who he was, and
There's
what
so
he
much,
meant to everybody.
there's so much more.
He was special, and there's only ever going to be one Steve Tappa,
absolutely.
and we were lucky enough to
Yes.
get to work with him.
Absolutely. He'll be dearly missed, that's for sure.
Yeah.